So do you ever wonder, is there a way to break free from this 3D reality? Is there something you can do to help yourself move along the path in the spiritual journey? And even if you've had awakenings or experiences in your life, you might find yourself back in the old patterns, back in the old 3D reality that you came from. I know that's what happened to me, right? And so I've shared the levels to God mode. Well, today we're going to talk about level one, the 3D. That's what we all come from. That's what most all of us live in this modern context, this modern world. Although there's people who come in and have memories, have remembrance of what they are. And I think even though I was definitely lost in the 3D matrix, right, in my life, there also was some kind of knowing, some kind of awareness I had my whole life. I mean, people used to say to me, "Oh, you're a really old soul," like when I was a kid, because I'd just be sitting there kind of watching everything else going on, not really participating. I don't know, just observing, just being present, but you know, had some desire or knowing of something deeper, I guess. Not really sure. I also had a lot of childhood trauma and abuse and things in my life, so taught me to be quiet and be still, to draw back and escape from reality in order to survive. Maybe that was a gift. I don't know. Definitely down the road seemed to help. I'm expert at meditating in silence, but the thing that really started to break me free from the 3D was a mystical vision that I had. And I literally was in a terrible state in my life in my 20s, and followed this girl and got my heart broken and didn't know what I was doing and felt so lost and just getting wasted and waking up in the morning just feeling like death, and just hating myself and life. And one of those mornings I woke up and asked life, what should I do now? And I had this vision, and I literally saw these words come, like, written on the wall. They appeared, and like the heavens opened up, and this light, this beam of light was pouring down, and there was these people, and they all had their arms out. Their hearts were like these radiant suns, and they were just glowing, and they were like floating up around this spiral of light up into this heavenly light and things. It's very mystical, biblical vision, right? And everybody being in that God mode, that God state of bliss and unity and oneness. And I didn't know that at the time, but the word said, "And all those who follow their heart shall rise into the glory of the heavens." And as soon as that happened, it all just disappeared, and I was just sitting there on the floor in my room. It was like, what the fuck was that? Just what just happened? I remember telling some people about it, and they just gave me weird looks, and I'm like, I don't know, but but something did happen in that moment. I felt something in my heart. I was like, all right, well, I don't know what else I'm doing. I'll try this following my heart thing, see what happens. And I had read somewhere recently before that. I think it was this book called Into the Light. Where do these things come from? The synchronicities. It was at my in my mom's house. All of her weird books on her shelves. I grabbed it, and read it, and anyway, it talked about asking questions of your heart and feeling into your body for an answer, for a yes or a no. So I was like, all right, I'll just start practicing that. And I don't remember what I did it with first or things, but pretty soon I started doing it with everything. I mean, I was even like driving across the country, and I started asking my heart if I should go left or right, feeling which one felt the best. And just all kinds of things started opening up in my life doing that. What kind of foods, and like I was trying to heal my body, and all this sickness and all this stuff was happening. People started showing up with books and ideas, right? How to heal. And I started following that hard, and I started making a lot of money, believing in myself. So it starts to get a little blurry in these levels. But this is what, because that really starts to become, level two, this level of empowerment. But breaking free from that 3D guidance was the process. Learning to tune in and feel alignment, resonance is what I understand now. I didn't then. Just beginning to learn. And I even started to realize that like my thoughts were making me sick because I kept dwelling on certain thoughts, which would create these emotional states in my stomach would get all tight. And then I started having all these issues and problems and getting sick and food allergies and all this kind of stuff. And but I started tuning in and learning how to practice energetic alignment and feeling this alignment of thoughts, feeling, and action. And these are different zones and energetic centers in our body. When we find alignment, something happens. It starts to tune us in and move us along the path of our journey into our destiny and our reason for being here. This is the like our personal destiny becomes activated when you start following your heart. And I don't just mean, there is follow your bliss. This is when I discovered that later. Joseph Campbell, right? The power of following your bliss and how doing that will open up doors you never even knew were there, right? That's because you're following this alignment. You're following actually higher guidance. Learning to realize that you're not alone. That guidance is here. You have guides and angels and spirits, and nature. Everything can be that. Everything can be that. All the new age things, they're beautiful. They help you find that truth within yourself. Find this alignment. This is how you start to break free from the 3D. It's the path out. And knowing, or at least wanting to know, that you're not alone. That God's here. That there is a wisdom here. That life wants you to evolve and grow. To have a beautiful life. Have the things you want. That's what comes in the in the honeymoon phase with God. You begin to have this journey together, and grace just pulls you right in. That's what happened to me. Just lifted me right up out of the darkness, man. When I really started to follow what I love and follow that inner alignment, follow that truth, just lifted me right out of a really challenging and hard and addictive and depressive life and right up into one of the most fucking beautiful, amazing places in the world. And like all this abundance and money was just happening. Made more money. I mean, I made like $100,000 in 4 months doing my web design work and things. It was just because I just kept believing that it could, and it was just happening. And then this led me down to a radical spiritual awakening. I ended up at a retreat center, Vipassana, and honestly, I didn't want to go. I was so happy, so high on my life. I was like this, being out in nature and climbing mountains and just living in the most magical, beautiful places in the world and having the freedom to really be in it and lots of money and just everything was amazing. And I met this woman who later became my wife, and we had a son. We have an amazing son together. Love you, Remy. Love you. Uh, and I ended up in this center because my heart told me to go, even though I didn't want to. And then here I am sitting in the darkness for like 9 days of Vipassana, sitting in stillness. But something happened that was undeniable, where I really broke free from that 3D. And I knew that I am consciousness. I'm this field of awareness that's holding my body. And I did feel that oneness and this great joy and bliss, even though I didn't really know that at the time. I didn't know what it was really to call it. I just felt amazing. I felt so free. And I knew that I was more than my body. I was beyond my body, but yet I was fully in my body. I wasn't out here somewhere. I was here, right in my body, but more than that. And it was so blissful and joyous. It was phenomenal. And from that point on, my whole reality was different. Never, well, I would say never went back, but I still got lost. You know, there was times, these cycles where we go back in the darkness, dark night of the soul, where you get disconnected from all the bliss, all the love, all the synchronicity, all the magic. It all goes away. You know, maybe you're in that stage right now. And this is where true integration, this is where I really began to understand that God mode. So it was a long journey back to that, like 12 years for me. But, and I went through the other levels, which I'll explore in the next video. So that's the key. If you want to break free from the 3D, you first got to at least believe in the idea that you are not alone and start testing it out and follow this inner guidance. Feel into your heart. You know, it's not just a lovey-dovey thing. It's like feel into your heart and feel for guidance. Feel what resonance feels like, alignment. When your thoughts and your heart, your feelings, and your body, your gut, when they're all aligned and they say yes, when you feel this expansive energy to an idea. It's like, do I go this way or do I go this way? Which one do I feel that resonance for? Okay, this is the way to go. I don't know why. I'm going this way. Can't tell you how many magical, amazing things have happened in my life because I said, I don't know why, but this is what's supposed to happen. This is where I'm supposed to go. It is the key, not only to break free from the 3D, but to everything, all the way down the line. Resonance, alignment is the number one key to a beautiful, amazing, magical, fulfilling, loving life. It's the key to everything you ever need, want. You find alignment, you'll find that peace, you'll find that connection to be connected. This is the ultimate key. Be connected. And that's how you break free from the 3D. So stay tuned for level 2.